Hello, Taurus, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? As always, I've gone ahead and pulled the overall energy for the reading and clarified those messages, as well as the overall theme for the reading, which we will jump into in just a second. I have the tarot deck that I'll be using already shuffled, as well as the decks that I'll be using in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. Last thing, please remember that these are general readings and they will not resonate fully for everyone, so do remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. Yes, actually, last thing, my microphone broke yesterday, so I had to run and grab one that I could find to just get me through until I could reorder a good one. So the sound quality might not be as good as usual, but bear with me while I get that figured out. All right, Taurus, in your recent past, you have worked through your fears with the Moon card here, which also, talks about fear. So your recent past was having to face and deal with a lot of fear. Maybe it was fear of change or fear as a result of change. Fear that was, honestly, I feel like kind of lingering for a while, and whatever is currently happening in your life, or specifically was happening in your recent past, just brought this to the surface in some way, shape, or form. So having to face a lot of fear, but when we are given the opportunity to face our fear, that allows us to work through it and release it, which then allows it to no longer have power and control over us. So might not have felt like the best energy to be in, but I do feel like it was helping you in a way that you might not be fully aware of. Now, in your current energy, you're very close to achieving your goal with the High Priestess in reverse. So it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't seem like it. But you are very close to what it is that you're looking for, even if it's just a new beginning of sorts, or maybe it is an outcome, I'm not quite sure. But with the High Priestess in reverse, we're not super in tune with our intuition right now. It's easy to do that. It's hard to hear our intuition when we're dealing with so much fear, because our fear and our ego voice is the loudest voice in our mind. And whenever we're going through just difficult times in general, or changes, or whatever the case is, that fear voice is going to be very, very powerful, which can often override your intuition. So just know that even if you can't hear it right now, your higher self is saying everything's going to be okay. You're getting there. You're getting close. Don't pay attention to your fear right now. Just try to continue to make the decisions that you feel are best for you. Now, in your immediate future, you have the end of a tough cycle approaches with the Strength in reverse. So as we get to the end of a cycle, things become extra challenging. Through a cycle, we learn a lot. We learn a lot about life, about ourselves, and that knowledge is very important, because as we get to the end of the cycle, we have to apply what we've learned so that we can close the cycle. A lot of people think that when a change happens, or a relationship ends, or something like that, that a cycle is closed, but the cycle actually isn't closed until you're faced with a same or similar decision and you make a different decision. So that's when you say, I've learned from this experience and I'm not going to allow it to repeat itself, whether it's, the same relationship in a different person, or, I already know that this one career that I didn't love wasn't going to lead me to where I want to be, so I definitely shouldn't choose it. Kind of like the same but different, I guess, is a good way of putting that. But the most important thing that you're going to need to tap into when it comes to closing out the cycle is going to be your confidence in yourself and in the universe. The faith that we have in ourselves is a direct reflection of the faith that we have in the universe. We are the universe in motion. And if you are trusting in yourself and you believe that you are also supported by a spiritual higher power of your choosing, whatever resonates the most with you, then you can pretty much get to wherever you want to go, but you have to be willing to lean on that faith in order to get there. Now, the overall theme of the reading is take the lead. I feel like this is a time in your life where it's time to take charge of the future that you desire. No longer settling for what doesn't serve you, or no longer ultimately allowing your fear to make decisions for you, and choosing only situations that align with your highest good, that align with your value and your worth, and what's best for you on a soul level. That's what I feel like this reading is about. But let's start here, Taurus, by looking at your recent past. You have worked through your fears with the moon. Recent past for Taurus, please. Recent past for Taurus. One more. Recent past for Taurus, please. This is for Taurus's recent past. Taurus's recent past. My dogs are going to get all worked up. Cassie. It's funny. I know which one of them is barking. Okay. Recent past for Taurus. Work through your fears with the moon here. I have 4 dogs, for those of you who do not know. And it is a lot of dogs to own. It was not intentional. All right. Recent past for Taurus. Not turning over, hitting the table. Work through your fears with the moon here. Let me just start. This is for Taurus's recent past. There we go. All right. Well, you have the moon. A lot of fear. A lot of fear in your recent past. Like, I really feel like that was just like the theme of your recent past. It was just fear. With the Empress in reverse, there was a lot of sacrificing your needs and your desires for the sake of something, whether it was a relationship, a career, a path in general. I'm not sure, but I do see that you were definitely not taking care of you, Taurus. Now, maybe you didn't feel like you had the ability to, maybe you didn't feel like you had the time, but I do ultimately feel like this energy that you were dealing with was very, very important, because when we go through things, changes in our life, and we choose to learn from them, what we ultimately start to see is that the changes that happen in our life are happening to benefit us. Now, it's really, really hard to feel that way when we're going through something so challenging and difficult and painful, but I do feel like this time period in your life is you starting to step into the power of recognizing what is truly possible for you, because I do feel like you've been settling in some ways, specifically in your recent past, and because whatever is meant for you will never cause you to sacrifice your value. Like, yes, you will have to make sacrifices, but you will never have to sacrifice your value or your worth for the sake of something. And whatever this experience was in your recent past, you were having to sacrifice for. And so whenever we start to kind of take our power back and start to maybe choose a different path, or choose, to redirect our energy, or whatever the case is, genuinely start to choose ourselves. But we're so used to experiencing sacrificing our needs and our desires, it can be really scary, because there's this part of us that is connected safety with sacrificing our value, when in reality it's a false sense of security, and it hasn't, it obviously hasn't brought you the abundance that you desire. So that's why things are changing for you. Recent past for Taurus, but a lot of fear. I mean, seeing the moon twice with work through your fears, like, definitely dealing with a lot of fear. Recent past for Taurus. Doubting yourself a lot too. 5 of Wands. A lot of doubt in yourself. The King of Wands, doubting your abilities, in particular, doubting what you're capable of. Not just even what you deserve, but doubting your power. That's what that feels like. That's what this past kind of feels like. So in addition, it feels like maybe there are paths that you're wanting to take or opportunities that you're wanting to pursue, but they just kind of feel like dreams, or like you think about it and you're like, yeah, right, like I could never do that, or something of that nature. And, you know, I feel like that's where your fear of like what it is that your fear has been limiting you in a lot of ways in your life, Taurus. And I feel like it's been limiting you in a lot of ways for a very, very long time. And your fear is keeping you in this place, like with the Five of Wands, of this kind of inner conflict of like knowing that you want more, but not thinking that you're capable of having more for whatever reason, and therefore allowing that part of you to dictate your decision making. And there's no shame in that. Most people are living their life in a place of fear. Most people are not living the life that they desire. Because it's hard. It's hard to break out of that fear. It's hard to break out of, you know, you hear it all the time in the spiritual community, like breaking out of the matrix or breaking out of survival mode. It's hard to break out of that because you're so used to living in it. And that, you know, that kind of becomes your safety net, because you say, like, for example, I don't love this job, but it pays the bills. And yeah, I'd like to pursue this dream, but I don't think that I would be good enough to find the security that I need financially to pursue it, or whatever the case is. And I feel like that has kept you, that doubt in your abilities has kept you kind of like best way to describe the energy is like hamster on a wheel. Like, you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you're putting all of this energy into things, but nothing is ever, you don't feel like maybe you're making any progress. Not that you haven't made progress, I don't want it to come across as that, but that like you're still not any closer to where you want to be is what it feels like to you. But let's see, let's get more. Taurus's recent past. Work through your fears with the moon. This is for Taurus's recent past. Work through your fears with the moon here. Recent past for Taurus. Changing perspective on, oh, okay, and then there's the strength. Changing your perspective on abundance. This could very well just in particular being like talking about financial abundance, but doesn't have to be. Oh, how do I, okay. Because there's a strength, right? This is definitely relating to the strength in reverse that you have over here. Changing your perspective on this Ten of Pentacles. Because we often believe, and in our society have been taught, especially not just through, you know, the experiences of our parents or our caretakers or the people around us, but also just from society in general, that there is, you know, a certain path that you are supposed to take. You know, it's this kind of checklist of actions, you know, get an education, get a job, you know, meet someone, get married, settle down, have kids, save up, retire. You know, it's just kind of like that checklist of actions. Now, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with that checklist. Absolutely not. If that is what's meant for you, if that's what resonates the most with your soul, then that is absolutely fine. But that checklist doesn't work for a lot of people. In fact, I would say it probably doesn't work for most people, because it puts you in, it limits your path. It limits what you're capable of. It limits what your potential really is, because it's saying you have to do things this way. If you don't do things this way, then you're going to fail. You're going to end up homeless. You're going to, you know, blah, 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 blah. And when you can change your perspective from a place of what you have to do to what you want to do, which sounds crazy, trust me, I know, that can change your life. Because for me, for the longest time, like in a past life, if you would have told me I was ever going to be a tarot reader, I would have laughed in your face. Like, this was not my like life goal when I was a child. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was actually a financial advisor, and I was a very good financial advisor at that. But I felt, the reason that I pursued that path was because I literally fell into it. It was just what happened. I went to school for finance. I got an internship. I ended up working for that company, and like my life just kind of unfolded, but it didn't feel like my life. There were no choices that I made that allowed me to choose that path. Like, yes, I made choices, but I never was like, this is what I want to do. It was like, oh, this is what I can do, and this is what I'm supposed to do because this is just the way the life is unfolding. And I was very grateful for that opportunity, but it just wasn't meant for me. It wasn't my path. And I knew that for a very, very, very long time, but I didn't do a whole lot about it because I was afraid of the change that would come with it. And when I broke out of that and I started thinking about what do I want to do, well, I didn't know the answer to that question. I fell into a spiritual journey. I came across tarot, and here we are. But what I'm getting at is that my perspective on what it was that abundance looked like changed drastically. And it went from this place of this is what it's supposed to look like to this is what I want it to look like. But usually when we talk about what we want our abundance to look like, what we want our life to look like, there is all of these reasons that pop into our head of, well, that costs too much money, or I wouldn't be able to do that, or there's no way I would be good enough for that, or whatever the case would be. And so we allow ourselves to stay in this very structured view of how things are supposed to look, which keeps us from the life that we desire. And so your recent past was a lot about changing that perspective, or even just bringing that perspective to awareness, because your fear of, change or what could go wrong or even what could go right was keeping you, or maybe is still keeping you, in a path that doesn't serve you, that doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make you feel powerful and confident and strong and successful and like you're living the life that is meant for you. It makes you feel like, well, I'm good at this and it pays the bills, and this relationship, I don't really like it or love it, but at least I'm not alone, and things are pretty good. But life doesn't have to be pretty good. You don't have to just tolerate your experiences. You can live a life that truly aligns with what it is that you desire. It's difficult, but it's possible. All right, current energy for Taurus. You're very close to achieving your goal, clarifying the High Priestess in reverse. Current energy for Taurus. You're very close to achieving your goal with the High Priestess in reverse. Does Taurus need to know about their current energy? Taking charge. Okay. The Emperor, the Seven of Wands, and the Knight of Wands in reverse. Okay. Strength. There's the Ten of Pentacles again. Okay. This really is an energy of taking charge. In particular, taking charge of your tendencies to sabotage your own abundance. I think that was probably one of the hardest lessons I had to learn on my journey, is that the only person that was holding me back from the life that I desired was me. And having to take that hard look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I can blame everyone else, and I can say it's this, and I can say it's that, but at the end of the day, the only common denominator was myself. This is very much in tune with this kind of take the lead kind of energy here. We sabotage ourselves in so many ways that probably go unnoticed, such as being afraid to try something new because you don't want to be bad at it, or being afraid to try to change because you're so comfortable in the life that you're living, even though you're not happy with it. Or, we can outright sabotage ourselves by, choosing addictions and distractions as opposed to, actually doing the things that are best for us, whatever the case is. And recognizing the ways that we sabotage without adding shame to the equation, which is the hardest part, allows you to realize the changes that you can make to then, start to put the pieces together for yourself. And so this is about fully taking lead of your path and recognizing that you have more power than you think, Taurus. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that's coming through, is recognizing that you have power. Your thoughts have power. Your mindset has power. Your intentions have power. Like, you have the power to create the life that you desire. We've spent a lot of time in our lives learning that we don't have power, right? Learning, how we need to survive and what we need to do to get by and what the best course of action is so that we can just stay afloat, right? But that's not what life is about. It's what we've certainly made it about, but it's not what it has to be about. Life doesn't have to be about surviving. It can be about thriving and experiencing what it is that you desire. But you have to be willing to do the work to get there, and that is why most people aren't choosing that path. Not that they're doing it wrong or that they're not as good as you or whatever the case, just that's just how it goes. That's just where they're at. That's their path. All right, current energy for Taurus. You're very close to achieving your goal with the High Priestess in reverse. So what is this about? Very close to achieving your goal. It doesn't feel like it, but you certainly are making progress. Like, it doesn't feel like it to you. Current energy for Taurus. This is a very specific message. Seven of Pentacles, Three of Cups in reverse, and Five of Wands. Being afraid of what people would think. On some level. Like, if you did something or if you left something, like being afraid of what others would think. I want to go back to what I was just talking about, how most people aren't living the life that they desire. You know, a lot of people will, when you're choosing your own path, and I have experienced this in a lot of different ways, but most people will project their fear onto you by telling you you're doing the wrong thing or you're crazy or whatever the case is, and that's because they would never do it. They haven't, chosen to take that path and to take that leap. So I don't know if it's necessarily, maybe not necessarily fear of opinions or like fear of losing people if you did choose a different path, or like, I don't know, fear of something. But that's not a good reason to invest in anything. You don't want to be living your life for other people. That was another very tough lesson that I've had to learn on my journey, is that path that I fell into, that was everybody else's path for me. That was my parents' path for me. That was, the advisors that I had in my life path for me. It wasn't my path. It wasn't something that I chose. It wasn't something that I wanted even. But being afraid of what other people think if you do something, or like allowing others' opinions to keep you where you're at, or something, like listening to the fear of others instead of the faith that exists within you, the confidence and the power that exists within you. I get what this is saying now. The hardest part of achieving any goal at all is gaining the confidence to believe that you are capable and deserving of whatever it is that you want to achieve. So stepping into that power actually gets you closer than anything materially. It's not necessarily about the education. It's not necessarily about the financial, payoff. It comes down to, what do you believe about yourself and what's possible for you? And in addition, what do you believe about the universe having your back on that path? Because taking the lead of your path is like the biggest, the hardest part in actually creating the life that you desire, is making the choice to do that. And so that's what this kind of feels like, is this is about you like stepping into your power to choose your own path, to create the life that you deserve, not the life that has been chosen for you by other people, by other people's expectations or whatever the case is. Current energy for Taurus. Reverse. One of the most important aspects of creating the life that you desire is dropping your expectations around when it happens, how it happens, what it ultimately looks like, so on and so forth. And allowing yourself to focus on how you feel in the process of getting there. The worst mistake that we can make is assuming that an outcome is going to bring us a different life. Whereas an outcome is a product of the journey, right? The journey is the point. It always will be. It's about it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey, right? We hear that all of the time. But the more that you expect things to be a certain way, the less you're going to surrender to the path that you need to take to get there. Because if you always focus on where you lack, you're always going to attract more lack. What we focus on expands, right? It's the very basics of the law of attraction. But it's like your expectations, or like even what's been expected of you, doesn't align with the path that's meant for you. So this is about dropping like expectations of where you think you should be yet. Like where you think you should be, or how you think it should go, or, definitely not comparing yourself to other people. I mean, what you're going through right now is probably one of the hardest transitions in, because it's course correction. It's changing paths, which is changing like fundamentally like your belief system, which is like a very difficult thing to do, because you're not just facing the fear of I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm not deserving, but you're also facing the fear of everybody else around you projecting their fear onto you, right? Whether directly or indirectly. And so I really feel like that's why you have in your immediate future, which we'll get there in just a second, with the strength in reverse, like that's why your confidence in your faith, not just in yourself, but in the universe, is so vitally important. Because just because things haven't been going as planned doesn't mean they're not still working out for you. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to have it figured out. If you're experiencing lack, especially in a financial sense, remember that money is just an energy. It ebbs and it flows. And if you are focusing on aligning with your highest good, the money is going to come. That was the coolest part of the journey, was once I just got in alignment, I was always provided for financially. Even if like I didn't have any idea where it was going to come from or how it was going to happen. And so allowing yourself to let go a little bit here of expectations, like expectations of where you should be, because sometimes we're afraid to change paths or to create a new beginning for ourselves because we think like, oh, I'll be behind. But the concept of being behind within itself is the belief that there is a certain timeline, that there's things that you should be doing or that you have to do. And that goes back to that checklist, right? And what society has placed on you and the expectations that really aren't even your own. They're just what you've come to expect through what you've learned based on society and your parents. And that's why, like, when you make that transition, you're not just changing what you believe, you're having to unlearn what you've been taught to believe. So there's a lot going on for you right now. And I feel like the biggest thing I can tell you, and this probably isn't like the answer you're looking for, but is to lean into faith. Lean into faith that you are supported. Lean into faith that you are guided. Lean into the faith that even if you don't have the answers, even if you don't know how things are going to be okay, even if you don't understand why things are happening the way that they do, that you are guided and supported on this path. Try to lean into that faith as much as possible. Okay, immediate future for Taurus. The end of a tough cycle approaches with the strength in reverse. Immediate future for Taurus. The end of a tough cycle approaches with the Strength in reverse. The Five of Pentacles with the Hermit. So this is the cycle that's ending. A cycle of lack, a cycle of loss, a cycle of not having what it is that you need and desire. But the cycle isn't going to close itself. This is like with the Hermit and the Five of Pentacles, there's a need to take a deeper look at this. So let me get more on this. Let me get more on this. The Hermit with the Five of Pentacles. There you are. Queen of Pentacles, whether you're male. And then there's the World. So there's... Ooh. The only way to close this cycle is to reprioritize. Maybe you're in the process of doing that. Because we talked about in your past how there was a lot of sacrificing your worth and your value and your needs and so on and so forth. So... the only thing that's going to close the cycle of lack and loss is when you stop doing that sacrificing. And you start making the decisions that are best for you, even if it's like hard and uncomfortable and it's going to lead to, you know, having to face fear and doubt and insecurity. Like starting to prioritize the life that you desire is the only thing that's going to close the cycle of lack. Because there is a new beginning available for you, a very prosperous one at that. This Fool feels very like limitless. I don't know how to explain that. It feels very limitless. And I feel like you've been very limited in your life and in your experience, and this is breaking out of that. Breaking out of those limitations, both internally and externally. So looking closer at the lack, where does it stem from? If you are not living the life that you desire, it is because a part of you does not think it is possible. So doing some introspection on that. And that doesn't even just need to mean like what your bank account looks like. Like I mean like feeling fulfilled and inspired and, you know, excited and happy and joyful on a day-to-day basis, right? That's ultimately what we're all looking for. We want to feel good. We want to feel good in our experience. We want to feel successful and supported and loved and all of those wonderful things. And so what in your life isn't aligning with that? And when you think about changing those things, what are the first limited reasons that come to mind as to why you can't? It would be too hard. It would take too long. I don't even know where to start. You know, what are the limitations that you place on yourself and how can you start checking, you know, working through those one at a time? Because otherwise you're going to allow yourself to stay stuck exactly where you are. Because you have to remember our experience is a reflection of our inner world. It's as above, so below, as within, so without. What we believe in our hearts, in our soul, in our subconscious about our self and our reality and what's possible for us and to, you know, the extent that we're supported, that's going to be exactly what we experience. So focus on what's going on within. If you're experiencing lack, where is that stemming from? Is it because you're so used to lack at this point that that's all you think is possible for you? Is it because you think that that experience and that that kind of energy is as good as it gets? You know, where are the limitations? And how can you break out of them so you can step fully into your power? Immediate future for Taurus, please. Immediate future for Taurus, please. There you are again. I mean, that's survival mode. That's what this is. This literally is breaking out of survival mode. This is going from a place of survival to abundance. And abundance, when I talk about abundance, people automatically jump to thinking I mean material wealth, material things. But that's not ultimately what abundance is. Living an abundant life is living a life that you wake up grateful to be living. It's waking up excited for your day. It's waking up going, I get to do these things. I get to experience these things. I get to interact with these people. That's where abundance truly lies. Now, the material aspect will come, from that, because our material world is a reflection of our inner world. But when we're in a place of survival and we think that survival is going to bring us the abundance that we're looking for, we've got it all wrong. That's why you've got to shift your perspective on what abundance is, because it's not how hard you work and how much you suffer. And, it's not about the grind. It's not about sacrificing. Yes, there will be sacrifices that have to be made, but they're usually ones that you're pretty okay with making, because it doesn't take away your value. And they're usually reciprocated. We often think, we often sacrifice a lot for bare minimum, whether it's love or whether it's, financial payoff or whatever the case is. So this is about this really is breaking out of survival mode. I kind of alluded to that in the beginning, but it's like breaking out of that belief that things have to be a certain way and starting to open up your perspective to maybe things can be different. Maybe I have been limiting myself. Maybe the universe can support us in pursuit of our wildest dreams, because those things are absolutely true to the extent that you believe them. Now, if we could just change our belief system overnight, I wouldn't have a job. But so it's difficult. You've got to dive into all of the reasons you believe the other ways and heal the roots of those, so that you can, break out of those mindsets that keep you trapped in a certain reality that you're not enjoying, you haven't been enjoying to this extent. So breaking out of survival mode here, Virgo, or Taurus. Why did I say Virgo? I think it's because of the Hermit. Immediate future. Now I'm questioning if the Hermit is Virgo or Taurus. Anyway, immediate future for Taurus. Immediate future for Taurus, please. Leaps of faith, Taurus. That is what this reading is about. Leaps of faith. Knowing your power. Leaps of faith, knowing your power. Embracing the unknown. Embracing what you don't know. Embracing the uncertainty. That's going to be what changes things for you here. We often think that we need to have all of the confidence before we take the step. But the confidence is built as we take the steps, as we move forward, as we gain that spiritual proof, and we realize that we are supported and we are guided. That's where the confidence comes from. So this is taking the lead of your life, taking charge, taking the lead of your life, stepping out of your comfort zone, stepping out of how you think things have to be and into the world of possibility. That's the coolest part about a spiritual journey, is you go from how you've been taught to limit yourself to starting to believe in alignment of what's really truly possible for you. And that level of mindset shifts can open up doors that you didn't even know existed. All right, Taurus, I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to clarify these messages, dive deeper into them, and focus on what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Taurus, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Taurus, I wish you absolutely nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.